Hello guys, nandito na naman po ako para i-discuss ang asymptote of a rational function. Ano nga ba ang asymptote? So, an asymptote is an imaginary line to which a graph gets closer and closer as the x or y increases or decreases its value without limit. We have three kinds of asymptote. The first one is the vertical asymptote, and the second one is the horizontal asymptote, and the third one is the oblique or slant asymptote. So, i-discuss natin yan isa-isa. Okay, vertical asymptote. Ito yung example ng vertical asymptote natin. So, ito yung graph ng f of x is equal to x minus 1 all over x plus 5. Etong red, yun yung graph niya. Okay? So, kung makikita po ninyo, merong broken line dito wherein the graph of the given function is approaching this broken line. Ito po yung tinatawag natin na vertical asymptote. Example number 1, f of x is equal to x minus 1 all over x plus 5. So, for us to solve for the vertical asymptote of this, we are going to first reduce the function in the lowest term. So, titingnan ninyo yung function kung naka-reduce na yun sa lowest terms. So, kung naka-reduce na siya sa lowest term, i-copy nyo na lang siya. So, katulad ng ginawa ko, f of x is equal to x minus 5 all over x plus 5. Pagkatapos nyan, so find the zeros of the denominator that are not zeros of the numerator. Titingnan ninyo kung yung value ba ng x kapag in-replace mo dito, yung value na makukuha mo sa x, kapag ni-replace mo dito sa x ng denominator, ay magiging dahilan ba para maging 0 yung inyong numerator kapag in-replace mo yung same number sa x. So, kung hindi naman, let us solve for the zeros of the denominator. So, kunin natin x plus 5. X plus 5 is equal to 0. In-equate natin yan sa 0. And then, by additive inverse, x plus 5 minus 5 is equal to 0 minus 5. And then, 5 minus 5 is equal to 0. Therefore, x is equal to negative 5 na lang. Then, eto na po yung ating vertical asymptote. X is equal to negative 5. Para ipakita naman ito sa ating graph, ito po yung graph ng ating function f of x is equal to x minus 1 all over x plus 5. So, ito yung dalawang red na yan. Yan yung graph. Ito po yung ating x is equal to negative 5. So, drawing ako dyan ng dot. And then, yan po ang ating vertical asymptote. That is the imaginary line wherein the two graphs is approaching. Okay? Approaching to this line. Next, example number 2. F of x is equal to x minus 3 all over x squared minus 9. So, the first thing to do is titingnan muna ninyo kung naka-lowest term na ba yan. Kasi ang first step is reduce the function in the lowest term. Kung hindi pa siya naka-lowest term katulad niyan, i-reduce po natin. So, factor out natin yung denominator para makuha natin yung common factor ng numerator at saka denominator. So, ang factor ng x squared minus 9 is x minus 3 times x plus 3. Kung makikita natin, common yung x minus 3 sa numerator at saka x minus 3 sa denominator. So, ika-cancel natin etong dalawang to. Kasi, x minus 3 divided by x minus 3 is equal to 1. So, may naiwan na 1 sa numerator. Ito na po ang magiging bago natin na equation. So, f of x is equal to 1 all over x plus 3. And then, dahil x ay 1 na lang naman ang naroon sa numerator, so, pwede na natin gawin yung second step. Find the zeros of the denominator that are not zeros of the numerator. So, ito po yon x plus 3. Equate natin yan sa 0. X plus 3 is equal to 0. And then by additive inverse, we have x is equal to negative 3. Therefore, yan po ang ating vertical asymptote. So, ipapakita natin yan dito sa ating graph. Ito po yung graph natin ng given function na yan. So, ayan po. And then, it is asymptotic to x is equal to negative 3. So, ito po yung ating x is equal to negative 3. Okay? So, yung line natin ay paganon. Okay? Kasi vertical siya. Ito po siya. That is our vertical asymptote. So, as you can see, this graph is approaching to negative 3 in this line of negative 3. Both the first graph and the second graph. Okay, next is the horizontal asymptote. So what is a horizontal asymptote? This is a line that is along the y-axis, the imaginary line wherein your graph will moves closer and closer. So we have three conditions to consider in determining the horizontal asymptote. The first one is if n is less than d, the horizontal asymptote is y equals 0. So what is n? N is the numerator. We are talking about the degree of the numerator. If the degree of the numerator is less than the degree of the denominator, therefore your horizontal asymptote is y equals 0. The second condition is if n is equal to d, so the degree of the numerator is equal to the degree of the denominator, the horizontal asymptote y is the ratio of the leading coefficient of the numerator a to the leading coefficient of the denominator b. That is why we have this formula. Y is equal to a over b. So you are going to substitute the leading coefficient of the numerator and the leading coefficient of the denominator for you to get the horizontal asymptote if the degree of the numerator is equal to the degree of the denominator. And last, if n is greater than d, there is no horizontal asymptote. So you are going to look for the degree of the numerator. If it is bigger than the degree of the denominator, therefore, wala tayong horizontal asymptote. Let us have an example for this horizontal asymptote. So, example number 3, f of x is equal to 3x plus 8 all over x squared plus n. So, tingnan ninyo itong ating given function. And then, the degrees in this given function, degree of the numerator and degree of the denominator. So, our n here is, syempre, titingnan mo dito sa 3x, ano ba ang degree ni x? It is 1. Kasi wala naman kayong nakikita, so automatic it is 1. The degree of the denominator is, that is x squared. So, therefore, it is 2. Okay, so, ilagay natin yan or tingnan natin doon sa ating conditions. Ano ba siya, saang condition siya pasok? So, eto, if n is less than d, the horizontal asymptote is y equals 0. So, our n is 1 less than our d, which is 2. Therefore, our horizontal asymptote is y is equal to 0. We are going to graph this function and then I am going to show you the horizontal asymptote. So, this is the graph of 3x plus 8 all over x squared plus 1. Ito pong red one na to. And then, our horizontal asymptote, sabi, y is equal to 0. So, therefore, andito lang siya sa along the x-axis. Okay? Kasi ito yung ating y. So, kailangan ang strike niya ay yung 0 ng y. Therefore, that is our horizontal asymptote. Next, example number 4 in horizontal asymptote. So the given is f of x is equal to 3x minus 1 all over x plus 1. So we are going to get the degree of n and d. So to get the degree of the numerator, it is 1. Ang degree naman ng denominator is also 1. And then we are going to get the leading coefficient of this given expression in the numerator, that is 3. And the leading coefficient of the given in the denominator, which is 1. Okay, wala kasi tayong nakikita. So, ito po yun. Our n, the degree of the numerator is 1. The degree of the denominator is also 1. Our leading coefficient for the numerator is 3. Our leading coefficient for denominator is 1. Okay, so dito sa condition na yan, makikita. If n is equal to d, eto po yun, they are equal. The horizontal asymptote y is the ratio of the leading coefficient of the numerator a to the leading coefficient of the denominator b. So, eto po ang ating gagamitin. Okay, so y is equal to a over b. So, therefore, this is our a, 3, our b, 1. So, 3 divided by 1 is equal to 3. Therefore, our horizontal asymptote for this example is y is equal to 3. Igagraph natin itong f of x is equal to 3x minus 1 all over x plus 3. Ito po yung graph niya. So, ito yung dalawang yan. If you can see, this graph is approaching this line, etong line na to. This is 0, 1. This is 0. This is 1. This is 2. This is 3. Okay, so horizontal nga pala tayo. So, horizontal asymptote, you are going to look for y is equal to 3. So, if we are going to locate that, eto po yun. Yan. So, if you can see, this graph is approaching this y is equal to 3 line. Okay, so dyan sila asymptotic. Next, so that is our horizontal asymptote. Okay, example number 5 for horizontal asymptote. F of x is equal to 2x squared minus 1 all over x minus 1. So, titingnan ulit natin yung kanyang degree, numerator, and denominator. So, ang degree ng ating numerator is 2, eto po yon. And the degree of the denominator is 1, eto yon. So, dito siya sa condition number 3. If n is greater than d, there is no horizontal asymptote. So, mas malaki kasi yung ating degree ng n kaysa sa degree ng d. Kaya, this function has no or horizontal asymptote. Ipapakita natin ito dito sa ating graph. So, i-graph natin siya. Ayan, makikita ninyo yung graph natin is, yung itsura ng graph natin is puro pataas and then pababa, okay? So, walang asymptotic dito sa lines na to. Therefore, etong example na to ay walang horizontal asymptote. Okay, for last, this is our oblique or slant asymptote. This is our last kind of asymptote. So let's have an example of this. So given h of x is equal to x squared plus 3 all over x minus 1, as you can see, ito pong given function na to ay naka-simplest form na. So pwede natin siyang kuhanan ng vertical asymptote. So ano kaya ang magiging vertical asymptote niya? So gamit etong denominator, we have x minus 1 is equal to 0. And then by additive inverse, our vertical asymptote is x is equal to 1. Next, ang horizontal asymptote natin. So, tingnan natin, ano ba yung value ni n? Sa degree of the n is equal to 2. And then, degree of our denominator, the d, is equal to 1. If you can still remember yung case number 3, which is n, is greater than d, applicable siya dito. Kapag ganyan daw, there is no horizontal asymptote. And then, let's look for the oblique or slant asymptote. meron tayong dalawang paraan para makuha ang oblique or slant asymptote. Ang una, pwede kang gumamit ng long method division or pwede rin naman yung synthetic division. So, ang ginamit ko dito ay synthetic division, wherein kinuha ko yung lahat ng numerical coefficient ng numerator ng ating numerator. So, ang numerical coefficient nito is itong x squared. Dahil nagsimula tayo sa x squared, so we will get x squared, x, and then the constant. So, ang given natin dito ay x squared. Yung ating numerical coefficient sa x squared ay 1. Ang ating numerical coefficient sa x ay wala, so 0 lang yan. Ang ating numerical coefficients ay no. Our given in the last term or the constant term is 3. So, therefore, eto na po yung tatlo. Numerical coefficient ni x squared, numerical coefficient ni x, since wala namang x, kaya 0 yan, and then the constant term, which is 3. Divided by yung ating value ni x. So, by additive inverse, ang nakuha natin na value ni x is equal to 1. So, eto ang ating divisor. Next is, magdi-divide na tayo gamit ang synthetic division method. So, i-bring down lang ninyo etong ating 1 na number. Etong unang number sa set. So, this is 1. Bring down 1. And then 1 times 1. That is 1. Eto po yon. Okay, 1 times 1. That is 1. Since pareha sila na positive, i-add mo yan. 0 plus 1 is equal to 1. And then 1 times 1 again. Your answer is in the third column. It is 1. And then, parehas ulit silang positive, i-add mo yan. So, 3 plus 1 is equal to 4. And then, isusulat na natin siya sa quotient form. So, ang ating dividend is x squared. So, minus 1 lang yung 2. 2 minus 1, we will start with x. So, ito ay magiging 1x. Ito yung 1, and then ito yung x. Plus, yung 1 na constant natin, ito yon. And then, yung ating remainder is etong 4. Pero hindi natin siya isusulat as ganyan. Isusulat natin siya na ina-add din natin yung kanyang remainder, katulad nito. And then, wala na yung 1 kasi 1 times x is equal to x. And then, plus 1, ito yon. And then, plus remainder yung 4, no? So, 4 all over x minus 1. Yan yung ating divisor. So, therefore, ang ating oblique asymptote is h of x equals x squared plus 3 all over x minus 1 is the line y is equal to x plus 1. Ngayon, kung i-graph mo yan, nagamit lamang ang iyong graphing paper, okay? So, gagawa ka ng table of values para makuha mo yung kanyang exact points. Okay? This is x. And this is y. Mag-a-assign ako ng values kay x since independent variable naman si x. So, mag-a-assign ako sa kanya ng negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2. And then, isosolve ko ang ating line, which is y is equal to x plus 1, gamit etong mga values na inassign ko. So, that is negative 2. Isa-substitute natin dito sa x sa baba. So, that would be, etong negative 2, ano? Negative 2, I'm sorry. So, negative 2, so substitute natin dito. So, magiging negative 2 plus 1, that is equal to negative 1. So, ilalagay natin dito, that is equal to negative 1. Next is negative 1. Isa-substitute natin dito sa x. So, negative 1 plus 1, that is equal to 0. Next, 0. Etong 0, isa-substitute kay x. So, 0 plus 1, that is equal to 1. And then, 1, to 1, isa-substitute kay x. So, 1 plus 1, that is equal to 2. And then, last, x is equal to 2. Isa-substitute kay x. So, 2 plus 1, that is 3. First, bago natin i-plot ito, i-graph mo muna etong h of x is equal to x squared plus 3 all over x minus 1. So, ito na yung naging graph ng ating given function. Ito pong red lines na yan. So, kung makikita po ninyo, wala talaga siya na horizontal asymptote. Kasi yung ating graph ay pataas at saka pababa. So, pabulusok pababa, tapos rising all. Lahat ito ay nakapapunta sa taas. So, walang asymptotic dito sa mga lines na to ng ating y. And then, our vertical asymptote is x is equal to 1. So, ito yung 1 natin. Pwede mong i-draw yung line dyan para makita mo yung vertical asymptote, pababa na ganon. And then, hindi naman sa vertical asymptote ang ating focus dito. Ang focus natin ay si slant. So, i-plot na natin yung line ni y is equal to x plus 1 dito sa ating graph na to. So, if your x is negative 2, your y is negative 1. So, kung ito yung ating negative 1, negative 2, ito po yon. So, this is the point. 2, negative 1. And then, negative 1, ito po yon. Negative 1 and 0. And then, andito yan ha. Next is 0 and positive 1. So, andito yon. And then, next is 1 and 2. So, andito yon. Next is 2 and 3. Andito po yon. Ayan. So, ipa-plot na natin yung line. Ayan po yung ating slant asymptote. The oblique slant asymptote. Okay? That is the what we call oblique or slant asymptote in the given function in number 6. So, I hope you learned for today. That is all for today. All about the asymptote of a rational function. See you again next time. Bye-bye.